Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. Yom Chamishi Parshas Vayira Shnas Tovshin Ayin Ches Yeshiva Tiferes Avigdor. In the end of Parshas Vayira, it talks about the nisayon of all nisyonos. Avram Avinu went through many nisyonos in his life, and the only one the Torah refers to as a nisayon is the nisayon of the Akedah. Vahi achar advorim ha'ela v'ho elikim nisa es Avraham. So the question that needs to be understood, we know that our life is full of nisyonos. The question is, what is the function of a nisayon? So, when a Rebbe tests his Talmidim, he's trying to determine how little they know or how much they know. You asked an average Talmud, say, what do you consider yourself? Pretty good. But we know that people live in dimyonis. People live in the world of imagination. As we like to refer to it, La La Land. So, you need to test people. But what is the purpose of HaKadosh Baruch Hu testing Avram Avinu? Didn't he know that Avram Avinu was going to pass this test? You realize, not only did he pass the test, he passed the test and he got every single extra credit question perfect. He did it bizrizos. He did it with his slavos. He did it with dveikas. Unbelievable. That's them. So what is the function of this test? So today we want to share with you a number of Mahalchim and the Rishonim, the Ramban, on the spot, and other places in the Torah talks about this Yisroel, that the key to understanding the nisyonos, he says, inyan hanisayon hu l'daitis. According to my opinion, Ramban's knowledge of Yadus and Torah is ba'avur because heyos ma'isa ha'adam rishus muchletes b'yodeh. A person's ma'asim are in his domain. Im yirtzeh, he has a choice. If he wants, he can do something. If he doesn't want, he won't do something. It's called a nisayon, not from the perspective of the one administering the test, but it's called a nisayon mitzad, the one getting the test. The one who's getting tested, the one who's going to acquire new information that wasn't here beforehand, is the one who's tested. You know, sometimes you're not sure. We have a kid who took a test and you studied, and you woke up in the morning and said, Ma, I don't know a word. Your mother said, no, you do fine, don't worry about it. No, I don't know a word. You take the test, now the teacher doesn't know how much you study. You take the test and you get a great mark. So it comes out this test serves two purposes. One for the tester, and one for the testee. The one who got the test. I found out that Dr. Ramban, the Tiferes tests are only for the Menusa. That's what he says. So what's the purpose of this? He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts a person through a test in order to bring out potential. He calls it Koyach El HaPoyel. He wants to bring what this person's potential is into the actualization, into the real world, into the Olam HaMais. What's the benefit of that? He wants to give him the schar of Ma'aseh Tov. Loi schar leiv toiv bilvad. Not only the schar of leiv toiv alone. Come over here. No, to the way. You understand? Hashem doesn't want to know what you're going to do. That means if you're given a test, you know what you can do. Hashem says, bring it out to the real world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew what Avram Avinu was going to do and what he was capable of. But he wanted him to bring it out b'metzias. And Kol Zman, it wasn't brought into the world. So it wasn't a shleimus mitzad Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu wasn't showing. You get schar for acquiring the bekoyach, the potential to do something, and you get a bigger schar for doing a ma'aseh and actually doing something about it. You get a bigger schar. Now this is a very important thing, because the Ramban says, "V'da," you should know, Ki Hashem tzaddik yivchon. Hashem tests a tzaddik. Again, Hashem only tests somebody who's capable, who's somebody who has the ability to overcome the nisai. Because people come to me, they call me, I can't help it. It's too much for me. It's too great. It's too hard for me. You're a whip. You're capable of overcoming the nisai. Now you know what happens a lot of times. A person made himself, gave into the Yetzer Hara so many times. He lost his koyach to now win the battle. But that was his own doing. So now, the koyach he had beforehand, he floundered. The koyach he had beforehand to overcome this nisayah, he decided, I'm not going to use that koyach. Or he thought, I'll fail today, but tomorrow I'll come back and I'll be a tzaddik. Echte v'oshuv. And then he came to a point where he lost the ability now. Now he feels that it's too hard. Most of the time it's not too hard, it's just he became so accustomed to doing the bad thing that he convinces himself that I can't anymore. He lost his willpower, but he didn't lose his ability. But even if he did lose his ability, he squandered his potential. That's his own fault. He committed suicide. So you commit suicide, now be machai yourself again. Bring yourself back to life again. Now you have to do exercises, you got to bring yourself back. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tests somebody who he knows is a tzaddik and he has the ability to do Hashem's will. And Hashem wants to be matzik him. Hashem wants to bring this guy tremendous tzedakah. Hashem wants to grant this guy Eilam Haba and Bracha V'Atzlocha and Hashpois like nobody's business. When the Chavetz Chaim saw that he was poor, notice he said to himself, Hashem, I understand you're testing me. You know that when you're poor, you got to work a little harder to do mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are more valuable. Everything you do in your life is more valuable. When the Chavetz Chaim had a dream that he is becoming wealthy, the next day he called in a couple of people. He made a hatavas chalayim. To him, that was a curse. You're diminishing my challenge. Did I become weaker? Did I lose the koyach to withstand the test? He says Hashem doesn't test Rishayim because Rishayim won't listen to him. He says every nisayon in the Torah is for the benefit of the menus. That's all. So now the question is, what happens when the nisayon happens? What is the purpose of this nisayon? What are the pshat? Hashem wants to. Is there a difference if I already acquired my shleimus in my heart? Rachmana liba boy. Hashem wants my heart to be neman umatzasa es levavai neman lefanech. You want his leiv, Rachmana liba boy. They want that Avraham Avinu's leiv should be loyal like a rock to Hashem, and it is. What exactly more do you gain from doing the mice? The answer is, it's an interesting Rashi brings in the beginning of Parshas Noach. It says, Eila toldos Noach ish tzadik. And then it says names of his kids. So it seems that the pasuk, why doesn't it say Ve'ela toldos Noach? And then tell me his kids. Why did he give me all his titles? Tzadik, Tama, Ibn Reisav, Eselakim Yisrael Noach. What is it into? What does it mean? Why is it mafsik with his titles and accomplishments before it mentioned his kids? The introduction was Eila Toldos Noach. So Rashi says an amazing thing. Rashi says Toldos Iker Toldos Seyem Shal Tzadikim are the Meisim Tov. The main tolda of a tzaddik are the Meisim Tov. What does that mean to say? And the Velti asked the question. Push the question. What's the question? Everybody's told this Meisim Tov. What's the Daft Tzadikim? Rebbe has Mahalach in this. When we explained it many years ago, I think I saw it from Rabbi Yeruchim, is that the toldos of a tzaddik are as Meisim Tov, but the toldos of a non-tzaddik are not as Meisim Tov. What does it mean to say? There are some people who are wealthy and they live wealthy, they act wealthy. Wealth is part of who they are, and it permeates every aspect of their life. And then you have people who have money in the bank, a lot of money, but they live very poor. That person's not a wealthy person. The wealth never became internalized, it never became part and parcel of who he is. There are people that do mitzvahs, and their mitzvahs are like collecting cans. You go in New York, you can see, you have these foreigners driving on bikes with bags of cans all around them, in the front and the top. It's unbelievable to watch. And you marvel at them. And each can is 10 cents, 5 cents. But the guy's going to be the noble schlepper with the cans or without the cans. He's going to still be on his bike. It doesn't change who he is. When a regular person, non-tzaddik, does a mitzvah, it's like a can. He's going to get rewarded for that. he could collect his deposit for his can. But the can, the mitzvah, never becomes his toilada. You know what a toilada is? You know what a child is? A child gives a parent kiyum. A parent exists, exists through his children. By a tzaddik, the ikr maisim toivim of the ikr toldei seim, the ikr growth is their maisim toivim, because their maisim toivim becomes part and parcel of who they are. When you see a computer, and the computer has 150,000 svarim, the computer doesn't change. It's a Zelba computer. No one's going to say it's a Heilige computer. It's a computer with a lot of data on it. But if you look at a tzaddik, who's Molei Torah, and the Torah and his mitzvahs are nivla b'damai, they become part of him. Know what is called the Chazal? Alebetik Sefer Torah. He's an under a bria. He's not a person who happens to have in his memory bank millions of ideas and millions of days. But he's a new bria. It's a new toilada. A person who has something in his life is gewaldig. But the purpose we come to this world for is to make kinyanim. You want to be kind of and leave the kinyanim in this world. You want to change yourself and thereby change the world. You take the man that Hashem placed in this world, and the man is made up of two parts: his chumriyas and his gashmiyas, and the other side is his ruchniyas and his sichli. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, subjugate your gashmiyas, your chumriyas, to your sichlis, and make it over. Make yourself, your chumriyas, a tzaddik's mind, a tzaddik's mouth, a tzaddik's hands are different hands than a regular person. It may look the same, but they're totally different. Because his guf became a chelik of his neshama. We must understand that we're here in this world, and this is where a lot of people make mistakes. A lot of people think, I'm a person. Okay, I'm a law-abiding citizen. When you keep the laws of a land, you earn the rights to be a citizen in the land. You earn rights to be part of the yishuv. But you're not a different person. All the laws in the world that you do doesn't change you. It's not mahapach you. You're a zelba mensch. And you fulfill the laws. But a person who does mitzvahs, the goal of the mitzvahs is to create a new bria and a new gavra in this world. Not to be the zelba mensch, to be an under mensch. That's the whole point. The point of a person learning Torah is that the Torah should permeate our kishkis, it should become part of our worldview, should become part of our behavior, become part of how we conduct ourselves. That's what Torah is. It's not that it's a person who acts nice. It's an under gavra, it's an under zach. When Hashem took Avram Avinu, and he told Avram, I want you to go through this Nisayon of Nakedah. You know what Avram accomplished? Avram shtayt. He became a new bria. Hashem says, Ato Yadaiti. Now I know. Means the chibur, it became solidified. Avram Avinu became a cheftza of a Yari Elikim, greater than he was before. He came an under bria, an under mitzias. That's what a person has to know. And this is what we have to be aware of, is what the purpose of a person going to yeshiva. Most people, you're going to be asked this question, probably by family members. If not, maybe your wife's family members. How long are you staying in school? It's a famous question to ask. The genius question. How How many years have you been in school? What? So when do you finish? The answer is you never finish. Somebody asked you, Yitzchak Kutner, we're having a discussion about how long he has to stay in yeshiva. And Yitzchak Kutner told him, you have to stay forever. So the guy said, what? I can't stay forever. So he said, so get a job. He said, but he just told me I have to stay forever. He said, you do? He said, so which one is it? Do I have to stay forever or not? He said, you have to stay as long that when you walk out of yeshiva, you're taking the yeshiva with you. If it's not nicker, sometimes you see a bacher or you see a balabas. The guy opens his mouth and he sounds like a total behemoth. And the first thought you think is, or what I think is, never. The guy never had an experience in the yeshiva. And then I say to him, did you perhaps ever go to yeshiva? He said, sure. Yeah, which yeshiva did you go? I went to Brisk. You went to Brisk? What happened to you? I grew up. That's what a person has to realize. As they used to say over always, that there was a younger man way back in the day who was one of these heroes, and he sat in yeshiva and learned. My grandfather always used to pump him up about how great a job he's doing. One day my grandfather meets me after a couple of years of not seeing him. He says, Shalom Aleichem. Zayda said, what are you doing these days? He says, I'm working. He says, what happened? This is what he said. I decided it was time to grow up and become a mensch. My grandfather was so upset at that. I remember when he said it over the tape. I remember when he said it. He said, a mensch? The guy lost his menschlichkeit. He became a behemoth. He lost all his das. That's called becoming a mensch. A guy who leaves yeshiva, know what I mean to say? His whole being in yeshiva was collecting cans. He was not doing the job. There was no creation. He wasn't creating himself. He wasn't building himself. A Talmud Chacham is a banoi. The whole function of being in a yeshiva is you want to build yourself. That's what you want to do. And if you walk out and you're garnished, you just stayed some years in the yeshiva, you weren't kinda, no acquisitions, it means you're not a different person. Many times people have asked me this question, what's the difference if you learn in a yeshiva or you go to a shir as a balabas? What difference does it make? Let's say a balabas learns 2 hours in the morning until it's 2 hours at night. What's the difference? The difference is because generally, once you leave the yeshiva world, you're not building yourself anymore. Now your mind is focused on a whole different scenario. You're trying to make a parnas. You're focused on physical life. Now you're paying your dues of learning Torah. Of course it's shaykh that a guy is an erlich mensch and he was kind of Torah in yeshiva. Now he goes out to have parnas and he continues. He's building himself continuously. He's learning as much as he can. It's not a amount of hours, it's the quality. It's the question is this your told or not your told? The difference between a person who went through a test, who didn't go through a test, is the shaila is his guf become nishtana? Did he become an andere mahus, another bria? When about tshuva, a person goes from not being frum to frum, I explained to them, do you understand the difference between where I'm trying to lead you to and where you're coming from? You were coming from nothing. You were like an incubator baby. You were in the NICU. You were on life support. And now you're a bria. You knew you're a bria chadasha. You're an under man, not a better person. And a lot of times they come back, well, I don't want to forget who I was. I said, you should remember who you were. And thank Hashem every day that you change. No, I don't mean that. I said, I don't mean that. I want to remember how I want to continue with my life. See, but what Yiddishkeit has to offer you is so much more than that. It's offering you to go from an infant to an adult. The guy says when he's an adult, I want to remember my childhood. I had a wonderful childhood. I love playing with trucks and with tinker toys and with cars and with fire engines. I love that. That was such much fun playing with little soldiers. So what does the guy do? The guy becomes an adult. And went to an adult's house. I was a mavugger. I come to his house, and I see in his dining room, in his living room, there's a big sign, Lego Way. And I see Lego there. I see the Eiffel Tower of Paris. I see famous buildings. I didn't know the building he touched. Wait, this is that building. He had buildings there from all over the world built out of Lego. And it took up his whole living room. I told the guy, oh, is this your kid's hobby? He says, no. I said, whose hobby is this? Mine. I said, oh, this is what you did as a kid? You saved it from when you were a kid? No, I spent my time. You know how much money I put into this? I put an effort into this. Nice guy. So I start to look around the guy's house. I see in his dining room, he had, what are those two-wheel? No, Segway. He had a nice Segway. He had a nice bicycle, electric bicycle in his dining room, plugged into the wall inside. I'm thinking, the guy never grew up. I asked him, by the way, where are you from? He said, one thing I pride myself. You're not going to find a safer in my house. And he would tell you he was a nice guy. You know he was? He was an adult infant, that's all. He was a child who really didn't want to grow up. So he didn't grow up. He's misnaig, he conducts himself as he's an adult child. He loves playing with Lego, and he told me he had connections he has with people in Lego, and they discuss Lego, Lego, and what's his next project in Lego. He hopes to have a bigger house, we can make it bigger this and bigger that. A person has to realize that's what you are. If you don't change yourself, if your goal, if you're the same at 16, 20, 4 years later, that means you're still a baby, you didn't change. It was a wasted years. Just because you did a couple of mitzvahs along the way, but if there's no growth, there's no change. Hashem gives a person his shyness that a person could develop himself and bring out himself. If you ever go, I used to read, there used to be a paper in Cleveland, I don't know if it's still around, the Cleveland Jewish News. Gift they used to always say. It's an amazing paper. There's nothing about Cleveland in there, there's nothing Jewish in there, and there's no news in there. But they call it the Cleveland Jewish News. And they used to have every week obituaries. Like little Hespedim on people who died, well-to-do people generally died. And I used to cut them out for Avigdor and Avigdor for a few months. And to me, it boggled my mind. This man used to be CEO of a major corporation. He spent his last years enjoying himself doing woodworking. Another guy. He used to be a major real estate holder. He relaxed, he plays golf, and he collects electric trains. Very big hobby of his. This guy spent time, he was a foodie. He loved food. And he enjoyed culinary artists. And the last years of his life, he spent time developing his culinary skills. Now one guy, every guy who grew up, went back to being a baby when he retired. I mean, the guy's pushing, not only not accomplishing, he's going backwards. Gordy has nothing to show for his whole life. It was pillar to me. You have to demand of yourself. And you have to ask yourself, I want to be a different person, not just a better person. I want to grow, I want to be an under mensch. You think you hear a shmooze about Amunah, you become an under mensch. You know how hard it is to kind of Amunah. You know how it is to acquire better midas. You have to work years on this. To acquire bitachon. You have to work on it again and again and again till you become a maimin, a beteach, to become a person with a better midas. Your whole outlook is different. And you realize that everybody looks at things like little children. That's a whole different perspective. That's what Torah viewpoint is. It's not the kinderspiel. Sometimes you see rabbis, people who have bad luck, they even have a smicha, and they open their mouth and talk like nothing. I was once invited to be a scholar in residence in another city. I went to a Shabbos. The Rav was like a baby of 9 years old. All he wanted to talk to me before he got to know me is, so what do you say about the Indians? Let's talk and learning. What do you say about Cleveland Indians? He got up on the Shabbos morning and he spoke about sports. And he mentioned everybody to listen to me, to make sure you listen to my program after you listen to the sports. There was a game here, before the game, I forgot what exactly, but I mean, it was like Mamish garnished. I asked the guy, which yeshiva did you go to? Well, yeshiva said, sure. So I went to YU. I said, oh, verstehe. See, that was one of the, my father and my Zayd would never say Yeshiva University. Because the whole Yisroel of Yeshiva University was that this Yeshiva and University, side by side. It's just Limudei Chol, Limudei Kodesh. But it's both the Zelba University. No one ever went to college to come out a different person. No. No one ever became a mathematician to become an andere Mensch. No one ever became a scientist to become an andere Mensch. You wanted to just acquire some ideas. And the taina, the name Yeshiva University, is to put those two things together. It's like saying Tzoya with Kedusha. Excrement with Kedusha. This is garnished, this does nothing for a mensch. And the yeshiva is a mokim, where it makes mention, creates people. What's the truth? My father used to say PU, he never said YU. He learns at PU. I remember asking him, what is that? He said, that's something that smells terrible. That's what he told me. I say they wouldn't walk in the building. He held was pashut. That's what they did. They took and they equated the yeshiva part with the university part, the shava b'shava. That's what a person has. You have to understand this, because most people don't happen. It doesn't mean the guy can't learn. Could be he can learn well, and he could say Reb Chaim. Can't I? But he doesn't understand something. It was a bacher. The emes of Feile B'Torah, he could have mamish been tremendous B'Torah. And he became, parents pulled him out of yeshiva, steiging nicely, a masmid, and put him in YU. And I got a number of calls from people, maybe my son should be looking at him, he's a fine boy. Right? Everybody agrees to find a bacher. He's a wonderful bacher. The one night I was in the koil, I see the guy in the koil. I call him outside. I said, you want to do yourself a favor? Take off your white shirt. Start wearing polo shirts. Get a knitted yarmulke. Stop wearing a hat. I told you, Mamish Shtichil Hashem. You don't realize that you're Mesa Samediach. The Yitzhar arranged for a fine bacher like you to go to YU. And now, they took, look, you can find a bacher of YU. Today he doesn't wear his hat anymore. Doesn't wear a white shirt anymore. Baruch Hashem. They don't last long. Well, that's what happens. He's still a nice kid, I'm sure. Tzarchmanas. Tragic. He could have changed, he could have developed, and his parents decided not to have him become a different person, not to become an Adam HaShalim, become a Gavra Rabbah, but they made him into a child. Could be a lot of ideas. A lot of education he has, can't say. The person has to realize this is the chilik. This is where the chilik lies. When Avram was tested and Hashem tests you, Hashem's trying to bring out from you, to make your guf mechuber, trying to make it das, make it real. Take what you know and what you have in your lave, bring it into the real world, and now it becomes part of your guf, and now you become an under the bri.